So here we are the day after, morning after, run number 2. Much more successful this time. It was in the windshield class, although I say that, and they were insanely lenient on the rules. The windshield class, according to the rules, is supposed to be like straight stock everything, like wiring inside the motor. Well, there was over half the cars that were in this windshield class were not straight stock underneath, especially. Like, I looked at some of them like, wow, this would probably pass for a stock compact class, but let's not kid ourselves here with the windshield class, guys. But I think there were 25 total cars in the pit for the windshield class. There were that many there. They just ran one feature. It was muddy. It poured before the derby, and then right during our heat, or feature I should say, it poured a little, but not too bad. It was definitely muddy, but it was fun. She ran well. Got a little pinched early. There's so many cars. I mean, whenever there's that many cars, it's just tough, especially at the start when everybody's flying around. And I kind of got pinched early into the side, and a guy kind of got hit on this side into my radiator, and I was running hot. I knew he got me in the radiator, not super hard, but he got me. And I just had the little, rebar on there, which mine wasn't even mounted because from the first run it had been pushed in there. It wasn't mounted as well as it could be, but I had it 9-wired right before the derby. I put 9-wire around that side. This side I could only get one bolt in. But, she ran good, even though she was running hot, and the transmission, I was trying myself, which was a little hard to get the fluid just right, and I probably was a little bit short on that, so that might have affected how I was not only losing power, but my transmission was probably not running as good as it could have been. And this guy here, I couldn't figure out what it was, so I didn't move it. Turns out, I think, talking to some guys, it's a, what is it, a transmission control module, I think is what they said it is, which again, I'm just not up on the electronics. And they're like, yeah, you should have put that like on top of the motor or inside the motor. I'm like, yeah, I should have, like, even though I didn't know what it was, like, it looked important, and I should have. So still learning the wiring. I learned a couple more lessons, including inside my battery. You can see this whole girl, I was hitting solely with the back end again a couple times just from the amount of cars, and out of 25 I think we ended up around 8th running. It was around 8 whenever I stalled out, and it was still running. Went dead, and again, I don't know why. I didn't get a chance to look yet. I'm going to here. It's pretty windy this morning. Probably going to rain quite a bit. But back end, even though I could get a ton of speed, put it to the floor every hit, still got a lot of life left. CV shafts, I think they were bent before the derby, and I think they're pretty much in the same position. That guy was bent a little and kind of angled in from a hit the first run. This guy took a hit in the top. He was bent in. So I don't think the CV shafts are not engaging, and I don't think there's any more damage there than there was. The cheap ratchet straps I grabbed from Walmart, pop the hood. They worked. The one kind of broke on the one hit. This one, though, definitely helped. Definitely gonna do that from now on. You can see it pressed back, but not. There's the starter. Maybe touch the starter a little bit on the back end. Oops, sorry, get the camera. Back end there, but the starter seems fine. I'm gonna pop the top of the core support and pull the radiator out and see. This guy here, turns out, I think that's for my air module. I think it is for the AC. So I don't believe that that's important at all. That wire there, that wire there I was a little nervous about, but the guys were like, no, that shouldn't have done anything. Talking to some guys there. So again, motor didn't take a hit. Definitely lost my coolant, was running hot. Probably the last 7 or 8 minutes I ran after the first probably 5 or 6. That was whenever we were all congested. Didn't seem to pop any fuses. I looked, so I'm not sure what killed the battery, or killed my car rather. But my battery, the ratchet strap just isn't cutting it. Had it super tight. Crazy tight. Like it's not moving. and just from the hits it just kind of works its way to where, you know, the car shifts a little, and now the battery kind of turns a little, and then the next hit it actually had slid on the last hit before I went dead all the way out. Now none of the terminals seemed to touch anything. That didn't like shoot forward, it just kind of slid out, and then I think it was like right after that I went dead. So I'm gonna check it out here, see, hook up the terminals, see if I got any power. Something else I learned, these guys got wet before the Derby. I didn't take a tarp and nothing worked here. So I didn't have my tach. I didn't have, if I could, whenever the car was running, I couldn't tell it was running. And then with all the louder cars around me, you know, during the Derby, I couldn't couldn't tell if I was running unless I was moving. So whenever I went dead, like I couldn't see if I was turning over. It's so loud. Couldn't see, or hear rather, if I was chugging, trying to turn over. So this guy's definitely busted. Another lesson learned. I got to get better with the electronics, but it was fun. She ran good. We're gonna see if she has another run in her, because she's got a lot of body left. So there's a Derby here in about 2 weeks. It is pro stock, which is definitely outside my expertise, but you got to finish her off somewhere. So we'll see. We'll take a look. So just a quick look at the damage inside. Radiator got busted in. I put water in the radiator and it is still holding water. The radiator had water in it. So even though I thought I was running pretty hot, the radiator seems, I mean, there's like a little bit of kind of seepage coming out of here. So maybe last night, I mean, I definitely added some, but it seemed to have a little bit of water in it. The starter, you can see right there, it was pressed back and bent this guy, but he's still making contact. That's the piece that the first time it got pressed into the fan so hard that I took off of the inside of the radiator, snapped that thing completely off, and not only broke my starter off the mount, but also blew a fuse. And again, this guy over here is indeed worthless. I wasn't sure what it was. Seems like he's just for the AC, and he's not needed. And yes, added a little bit more water, and PT restarted. PT restarted. So both exciting and frustrating. Exciting because she's got another run in her. I just put it in forward and reverse real quick. She's grabbing gears. I mean, again, obviously there's damage to both wheels, but that was pretty much what it was like before. Seems like my battery, I think, might have been, whenever it got dislodged, might have just touched the metal, and I don't know if that killed it, or maybe I was just running hot and it killed it. So I got to get a better setup for my battery. But yeah, PT is still, she is still alive. So we're gonna, not today, but we got 2 weeks here before there's a Derby. Talk with a buddy of mine, see if he can help me weld properly a bumper this time, and we'll put her in there and tap her out. But gotta bend this guy out a little bit if I can. It is pressed right up to that bottom pulley. As you can see there, it actually scraped a little, just probably whenever it got hit in. But it's still clear. But see if I can get that just a tiny bit further. Radiator, I'm probably gonna say we're gonna need to invest in one more, but $50, and you can see there the top, the mount was broke. I didn't mention that earlier. So she definitely was seeping out of it. I could see steam and stuff after the hit, and it seemed like it was running hot as it just wasn't going into gears much. But yes, put the tarp over, try to keep some of the water out. I got my battery and my tank in there, and it's gonna definitely rain today, most of the day. So yeah, she fired up. It's fired up. Motor doesn't have any damage. That starter's a little bent, but that should still suffice. So crazy. A little disappointed that I got knocked out with around 8 cars left out of 25, and still had a ton of body left and still had a working motor. Still learning, but good stuff.